I'm Mary Merola, founder of Junction. Welcome to my kitchen. The first thing we're going to work on is the dressing. I have prepared a loaf of white bread that I've cubed, and we're going to put that in an oven at about 200 degrees and toast it to a golden brown. Now, I have tried this technique using a toaster and full slices of toast. What I've learned is I get a much better result when I pre-cut the bread and use simple white sandwich bread. And then we're gonna move on to the cranberry sauce. I've made a lot of different cranberry sauces over time. Complicated ones with port wine and brandy. This is a simple recipe and my family absolutely loves it. So I'm going to start with fresh cranberries. This is about 12 ounces. I've washed them. Be sure to pick through them. Occasionally you'll find one or two soft cranberries and you want to eliminate them. I add to that a cup of water, and then we're going to add sugar. Now I use this Progressive sugar keeper, which I love because it's simple to pour. About 1 cup of sugar. Some recipes call for more. We like a little bit more tart taste. 1 cinnamon stick, and now the orange. I like the orange to be a little bit on the chunky side, and I leave the rind on the orange. This will give the cranberry sauce a really nice snap. Now sometimes we talk about cranberry sauce and cranberry relish. A sauce is when you're going to cook the cranberry, and a relish is an uncooked cranberry that is typically done in a food processor or a blender. We have put together our ingredients, and all we're going to do is place this on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then we'll bring it down after. The water is boiling and the cranberries are starting to pop, and that's what we want. I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit now and let this cook for about 10 minutes or so, and then we will let it simmer. So while our cranberries are cooking, I'm going to move on to the dressing. We talk about dressing and stuffing. The preparation is really the same as far as creating the dressing, and dressing is typically cooked outside of the bird, stuffing inside the bird. Recently, we've been avoiding putting stuffing in the bird for health reasons. So I'm going to show you a bit of a hybrid later on, but let's start preparing our dressing. I'm going to begin with the celery. So we have nice, even pieces. I have a large stainless steel 6-quart pan. I do like a lot of space for this. So I'm going to put in a 1/4 pound of butter, and I have my pan on low. To that, I'm going to add 1 chopped onion, and then my celery. This is about 3 stalks of celery. Since celery is naturally salty, we cut back a little bit on adding salt to this, and we're not going to add that right away in any event. Now these are leeks actually from our garden, and you'll see that I rinse the leeks because they tend to have a bit of grit to them. So this is a great way, and rather than straining the leeks, I always pull them out. The little bit of moisture isn't going to hurt at this point. We're going to let this cook slowly until they start to caramelize. Take a look at these cranberries. This is exactly what we want. The cranberries are popping, which is allowing the thickening of the sauce. And we're just going to allow this to simmer a bit longer. But that's the look we're trying to achieve. To add a little dimension to our celery, leeks, and onion, which are slowly caramelizing, I'm going to go back to my favorite vegetable, which you know is the shallot. Now he's a little tricky to peel, but that's okay, well worth it. I cut the shallot in half sometimes because it makes it a little bit easier to peel. And what I'm going to do here is just a simple slice. And I'm going to add this to my mixture. This is a good opportunity to do a chop on our herbs. I have parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. You'll see there's more parsley, and that's probably about 3/4 of a cup. These are fresh sage leaves. All these herbs are from our garden, but it's easy to find fresh herbs this time of year. I encourage you to get fresh herbs. It makes all the difference in your dressing. I'm going to reserve this for a little bit later. So it's been about 20 minutes and time to take our bread cubes out of the oven. Let's see how they look. Beautifully toasted. So our cranberries have been sitting covered with the burner off for a while. I'm going to uncover them and just let the cranberries set for a bit so that they can start to gel. Meanwhile, let's take a peek at our vegetable mixture. They're getting nice and soft. So here we have our toasted cubed breadcrumbs. I'm adding dried cranberries and raisins. These are golden raisins, but you could also use any sort of raisins. Now we're going to moisten our bread cubes by adding chicken broth. Depending on your preference, you can use turkey broth, or you could even go with vegetable broth if you wanted a vegetarian sort of dressing. And take a minute to incorporate. Go back to your broth and do this slowly. This is considered a moist dressing. There are dry and moist dressings. This is a moist dressing. And it takes just a little bit of time for the broth to incorporate. Now this is about 3 cups of broth for 1 loaf of bread. If you were making a traditional turkey dressing, you might put in chopped giblets, which would be the gizzard and the heart once cooked. That is a personal preference. I'm going to stop here and give this a chance to moisten. And so I have 2 eggs, which I'm going to beat. I typically leave my eggs out overnight so they have a nicer consistency. Set those aside. And this is a Granny Smith apple, which I'm going to add to my onion and celery mixture. All right, I'm going to get these, move those little seeds out of the way. Get the apple set aside so I can put that in the cooked mixture of vegetables. All right, so let's incorporate our herbs and apple into the vegetable mixture, along with the salt and pepper. Give that a chance to cook a bit. And now I'm going to bounce back to our bread. Now see how moist that's become? At this point, it's time to add the egg. We don't want to add the egg when the bread mixture is warm, because we don't want that egg to cook. And based on the feel of this, I have just the right amount of broth. I've allowed our vegetable mixture to cool, and it's time to add it to our bread mixture. Now it's best if you make this dressing at least 3 days before, which will allow all the flavors to meld. It also takes a lot off your workload on the big day. Here I have our cranberry sauce. We're going to let that cool to room temperature and then refrigerate. Again, this is best done about 3 days in advance. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen today. Come visit us at Function Junction at Crown Center or online at functionjunction.com. We sell cool cooking stuff to give you kitchen confidence.